Okay, it is 6:12 p.m. on May 29th, 2024. I'm officially calling this meeting to session extremely late. My apologies again on me being a bonehead and leaving all of my devices at the office. On this special meeting agenda, we have a bunch of organizational meeting items that we're going to go through as a collective edits. We don't necessarily have to pull the trigger on the organizational everything tonight, but the two policies that I've gotten out in email I think are really important for us to collectively go through, and that's the procurement policy with an addendum, as I have an extra local law that I want to discuss, revise, and hopefully introduce this evening that ties into the procurement policy. And secondly is the code of ethics. Both of them have been kind of just passed each year. I never really took a hard look at the code of ethics just because there's been so many other things going on, and the code of ethics and the procurement policy are done every organizational meeting on kind of a regular basis, but because we've been really working to establish policies, procedures, and kind of reset our foundation on village government and make sure it's strong and tested, I thought this was the right time to do this. So, we also have on the agenda tonight the bond resolution. Do you guys mind if I start with that item first, since that's fairly simple? Alright, let me throw that up on the screen. I know Olivia, I think, gave you hard copies?
I have
hard copies, that's fantastic, thank you. So, Bobby, you want to give us just a quick summary on what this bond resolution is related to, and
well, we have to buy out National Grid, and that's approximately $202,000. And then the balance is for the street light fixtures, I have one of them.
Yeah.
And it ends up being, what was it, around 500 and, I know that number was like 600,000, right?
500 and low
It's
20s,
five,
I think.
no,
or
I want to say it's
540?
like I want to say it's like 570, something like that.
I can find it.
But anyways, I can too, I didn't bring it with me, but that's, and Denise found out that it would be cheaper for us to bond the money than it would to use the TELP, which was the lease program. Now, our cost would be cheaper over the course of the 10 years by going interest rate is cheaper. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, I don't know exactly what the interest rate.
5.2, I think she said today on the phone.
The one that's not for here is right, it's like 5.2.
Yeah, and we had never heard of a TELP until the
we had not.
streetlight people suggested that this is typically how municipalities do it when they're looking to do this kind of debt for the situation. And we brought it to Denise brought it to all of our financial people and our bond council, and they said this is going to be the better one, and that's how
whatever's the lowest cost is gonna save us the most money in the long run.
Yeah. So, you guys have a hard copy. I'm gonna scroll through this packet here as soon as I find my mouse.
And the reason we have to do this right now is the fact that we're already getting invoices from the contractors who are ordering the lights and everything like that, who've bid the electrical contract and everything, so we're already getting invoices because they've already been purchase orders and materials have already come in at RTE from the suppliers.
Did we contemplate this in the budget?
It's part of, I believe it's gonna, we're no longer gonna be paying National Grid that amount of money.
Yeah, so we probably didn't.
We know, cause it's supposed to be a wash for the first 7 years, right, Rob? And then.
Yeah, but to Doug's point, we're gonna have to start paying this back, and I feel like it's not in the first year we start paying back, but the second year. I'll double check that with Denise, but if it's not the case, and you're right, we'll need to do
Just amend the budget.
yeah.
And if we're saving money the first year because we're not paying National Grid, then.
Well, it's gonna be like a wash for the first 7.5 years, I think, and then after that, it's just total savings.
Quick question, and if we bond it, are we actually buying them? Is there a difference in the leasing and the buying as far as?
The TELP is a lease to buy program, so after the length of the lease, we own them.
Oh, same.
It's the same thing, we're gonna own them right now, and we're also doing, part of that, program with them is a maintenance agreement, a service agreement, so they'll be maintaining, we won't have to maintain the lights, that's gonna be all taken care of by them.
So this is the bond resolution in front of us, I'll read a few things. Resolution authorizing the purchase of LED street lighting in and for the village of Hoosick Falls, Rensselaer County, New York at a maximum estimated cost of $600,000 and authorizing subject to permissive referendum, the issuance of up to $600,000 serial bonds of said village to pay costs thereof. So as Bobby has pretty much led and discussed, led, you get it, LED, led, haha. This resolution does require 2/3 for voting, just because of the type of bond resolution this is. This will allow us to purchase the streetlights and take on the costs in the initial with the eventual goal of long-term savings for way less money and better control over our streetlights.
Can I ask a question that's
Sure.
only under the subject, only because I'm remembering it right now and I won't later? The street lights on John Street now, are those ours or National Grid?
The decorative ones?
The decorative ones, those are,
Like the
those
fancy-
those are National Grids.
The street light?
The light itself, yes, we have to
Well,
work.
cause somebody told me one was out, so I didn't know whether it was ours or National Grid.
Oh, no, we don't own any of them
Oh, okay.
downtown right now, I mean,
Okay.
the actual poles you're talking about, the light,
The
light-
light is out, so I don't know where to go from here, but I don't wanna waste a whole lot of
Kenny.
time.
Kenny.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bradley's replaced those for us.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
we
all I
have,
wanted.
we have bulbs in stock here,
Okay,
so yes, just let Kenny
Okay.
know or let me know what it is, Devin, I'll let
that's
Kenny
what I
know.
wanted to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
And just to that point with Kenny, when we sent the email that you brought up about the terrible sticker on the box today, Kenny basically first thing before he even got to work, he went over and took care of it.
Yeah, it was like 6:30 this morning, he went and took it out.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it's a criminal act,
We will
and the
need
police are concerned that
need to
they-
follow up with John. There was Doug found a sticker of hate speech on something that we got it taken care of. But if there's any way we can
Where
track
was it? Where was it
down.
in?
It was at the corner of Abbott and Classic, it was actually facing Chico's house.
On top of the hill.
And
It
the best
looked
I
like
can
it'd been pretty
understand is-
tattered though, didn't it, Doug? It looked like it was.
That's because my wife tried to rip it off.
Oh, okay, alright, no, understandably so,
Yeah,
right.
but
Um,
she says it's been there a week, but she never read it.
I was gonna say, I didn't know, I was gonna ask you next.
Kenny
how long it was.
has already talked to his guys about keeping an eye out for that, and if we're able to see one of those pop up in a spot where we have cameras, we will pursue it. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm glad you made us aware and the police
I
aware
wonder,
of
does
that.
Chico have
I'm gonna ask him, I stopped by
it's
there.
probably, he
there.
probably doesn't because it's his
It's
tenants,
a tenant,
right,
but he may want to.
okay. Yeah.
So getting back to this, hereby determined the period of probably usefulness 10 years. Is there anything else I need to highlight in here, Elena?
Maybe it's subject to permissive referendum, so once, if it gets passed, it'll have to be posted in
Yep.
6 different locations and published and
Yep.
we will wait the 30 days and file the necessary paperwork.
Yes, as we've done in the past.
Oh,
And even though they've been doing things for us for a long time, they still only give us 5 spots instead of 7. So it cracks me up every time. Yeah, Dan.
I don't mean to get too technical, but if you go to page 7,
Technical away.
go to page 7.
6.
Which section? Right there, stop right there, right to the right of your cursor.
Hey, that's the wrong name. Elena, Olivia, do you see that?
How many clerks ago was that?
No, none, that's not one of ours.
Oh.
You didn't get the
That
message,
is-
Olivia?
Well,
She must have not been on the email chain.
it came from bond council, so they might have just used a
That was-
resolution.
Standard
Yeah,
format.
they copied
That
those
just, they
yeah.
just missed that.
Yeah. It also looks like like it's
Signature.
pointing to a network drive, so that's weird. But anyway, you'll change that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it as
Okay.
amended.
Yes. So we won't. That's the notice of adoption that she'll change. We don't have to change the resolution because the resolution, except for needing 2 more spots, is fine. But that's a good catch, Dan. Thank you.
I read it a couple times.
So we will need someone to offer this resolution and second it.
I will offer it.
Thank you, Bobby. Maggie,
Meg.
say you
Sure.
second it, okay. And this requiring a roll call vote, take it away please, Olivia.
Trustee Hanselman,
Yes.
trustee Shetty,
Yes.
trustee Lauber, yes, trustee Alter,
Yep,
trustee Sauer.
Yes.
Got some more to go through.
Oh, well, I didn't know if Valerie already did, okay.
No, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I'm also a
Are you
yes.
sure about that?
Is this the last thing, Bobby, that has to be done to?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From the
Last-
board it is, there's
From
gonna
us,
be a
yes.
fair amount of just following documents and seeing when things go in, and they're gonna be putting out bids and opening bids, I
A
think.
lot of communication with Denise because of the already
Yeah.
already with the invoicing and stuff like that,
And
so.
and probably also with
The
you,
guys been,
because
they've been great.
things will be going out for bid and coming back.
Any
and bid
questions, any
openings, that sort of
concerns, let
thing.
us know right away.
And are these the ones that?
Have you done a bid opening yet?
We can like remotely?
it's-
Yes,
Thoroughly
they're smart
excited.
controls.
Thoroughly excited.
Wow.
They'll be,
No, that's awesome.
they'll be controlled, each light is gonna have its own separate control,
Yes, which
Can
we'll
they
be able to
change colours?
access through the computer.
yes.
And we're adding a couple streetlights in particular along this road.
Yep.
And which is,
Down by the, we're adding one in the,
Parking
parking lot by Oak Mits, across from
Yeah.
Oak Mitsui.
Yes.
In that parking lot, we're adding one.
So at Christmas time, we can get it to go to Jingle Bells? and-
Well, we're not, you know, we won't be flashing lights, it won't be like a light show, no.
okay, so, just making a note here.
Yeah.
Wish you a Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. No.
At least just down
No,
John
you
Street.
need a time to hello.
Alright, oh, well, we're not gonna tangent there,
Yeah.
please no. Okay, alright, so in preparation for the organizational meeting, I ended up jumping down a rabbit hole, a couple different rabbit holes, and I think the easier spot to start is the procurement policy. So I gave you guys hard copies, I think on the top is the original procurement policy, which
Oh, I can.
was last modified in 2017, I think that was one of the last things Mayor Borge did on that organizational meeting, or maybe it was the previous year, I can't remember. That procurement policy has pretty much stayed the way it is. I feel like there may have been a time or two where we may changed a number or not, but I think it was pretty much stayed the same. I feel like some of the numbers actually changed via state law, but I'm not exactly sure on that.
So are you talking about the old or the new, Rob, right now?
I'm gonna put up the new on the
Okay.
screen, but you guys have the old one. So this is the draft version of the new procurement policy. This is the thing that went out fairly late today. With this one in particular, a lot of this is original language with a couple adjustments, tweaks or corrections, until we get to the numbers, but not really much has changed in this opening. I did reference a few other procurement policies that were out there. I found a couple, like a village, a town, a county, just kind of to see how things were laid out. But just to review this, and again, if you, in this situation, please feel free to interrupt and suggest a change or ask a question, but purpose and intent, letters A, B, and C really haven't changed from the previous. Is there anything you guys see in there that needs to be adjusted? Alina as well, please. That's just kind of the basic language.
Is, I don't know where we would put it, but I assume somewhere we have to put an intention around minority women-owned businesses.
That is, what's that?
Like, cause I can't see the sections below, so I don't know if there's another section for anything like that.
I don't think it's here.
We don't have it here. We do tie into all of the standard practices that we have to follow as per state law, and that's one of them. As far as I know.
Seems like it should be here then, if that's an intention.
Is that's required under state law, first?
As far as I
seat?
know, it is.
They have to give it like first opportunity or something, or what's the,
I know with
No, you just have to make an effort, I think,
oh, is that what
in
it
terms
is?
of your bidding process.
but I think that's when you get to a certain level you have to, I'm not
There are
sure.
certain guidelines, but it's in, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have it in your procurement policy, like if you look at general municipal law section 104B, it specifies what needs to be in the procurement policy itself. What you're talking about absolutely should be in any bidding documents or documents if we're doing like requests for proposals. You know, I don't know if they're standardized
But
documents
is
that
that,
the
yeah,
village
that's a whole
utilizes,
nother
but that
policy
should be part of
procedure.
it.
We don't have any standardized process.
Well, we don't have it standardized here, but the language for any formal bidding is specifically cites that we have to follow general municipal law.
Yeah, but if we don't know it, like, we don't know it now, what happens, you know? I'd rather see some reference here to, if it's somewhere else, they should reference it, because otherwise it doesn't happen.
Sure.
Or it's an intention, so, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to do a little bit of digging to find language on that for procurement policy, or Elena can also come up with that.
And I kind of would say the same thing when it comes to conflicts, because I don't know, is the village able to do procurement with a board member? For example, or if I ran a business, I could do that, do we have any?
All of that is laid out in code of ethics.
It doesn't say a thing about board members and what board members can do.
Oh, the code of ethics does, because it ties,
I heard all employees, village employee, village employee, village employee,
in the code of, the draft code of ethics.
yeah.
Give me 1 minute.
It's one of the things I noted, it says it up front at Clyde, but it doesn't, this,
So, village officer or employee. An officer or employee of the village of Hoosick Falls, oh, I already got a spelling error, whether paid or unpaid, including members of any administrative board, commission, or other agency thereof. So anytime village officer or employee is referenced, that is an all-inclusive definition.
really, okay.
And when we go through there,
If you go down and it says village employee, village,
No, it says right there, conflict of interest says indirect or engage in any business or transaction of professional income.
Yeah, so
What Doug is saying though is that the definition, I think Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, the definition section gives a definition for village officer or employee,
but then it just states.
but then it
employee.
just says village employee,
And
so
it
it
gives the
should
wrong
say
impression.
village officer or
Yeah.
employee everywhere that it says village
I think it'd be
employee.
clear.
That's
Oh, I
easy
see what
to
you're
change.
saying, Doug,
Yes,
yes, I
yeah.
got you, that makes sense, I wasn't following either.
okay, yes, I can go through and make those
Should it
changes.
say, it should say the same as what the
Definition.
first
Yeah.
village
Yeah,
or
that's
employer,
right.
yes.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
What about an officer or elected officer? The reason I asked that is I was actually quite curious about that when I read this today,
Mm-hmm.
because there's procedures in here for like removal of somebody who violates the conflict of interest policy, and I was like, well, how do you remove like an elected person?
Try doing it with a
Yeah,
president.
you can,
Yeah, no, I mean
You
like,
can.
Judge Mercer.
so I was like, can you just like, you know, oh, you violated the conflict of interest policy, so I was curious,
There's a proceeding,
what's that?
there's a
There's policy.
proceeding that gets, did you go that far or no?
I did a little bit, and it did seem to make a distinction between an elected officer and an officer, so an officer being appointed by
So,
I don't know.
if it's an appointed officer by
Yeah.
this board or the mayor, whoever the appointing authority is, has the ability to remove somebody. In the
Right.
case of an elected official, there essentially has to be a proceeding, I believe that's brought in Supreme Court for the removal, there's a whole separate process in the law for that.
I believe that's about what I read, I think the mayor has to be removed by the governor or something.
It might be.
Yeah, there was, I remember
Luckily,
reading.
never run into that issue, so.
Yeah, but I was kinda
We do it
curious,
with governors, but we don't use the name.
yeah, right.
but I just was kinda curious because I just looked at it and said they can be removed, and I'm like, no, can you just like remove like an elected person?
Oh, if it was
Just
that
fine.
simple, Dan, we would have done it a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I just, like, my mind goes in these weird
DeSantis
directions.
does it in Florida.
Well, that's true.
That's a great spot, Doug, thank you. I'm going through and finding all of them right now, and just doing a very quick
Yeah, it's just
copy and
clarifies it,
paste.
so, yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes
that's the point of this, that's exactly why we're doing this, so I love it, thank you.
Sometimes it just like,
Shell, huh?
my mind works, I go down these weird rabbit holes when I read this stuff and. Is that how they remove an elected official? You have to do it like, there's a proceeding like state Supreme Court or something? So it has to, like, except for like a
We
felony,
came
isn't
very,
felony
very
automatic?
close a few years ago in Niskuna into having that situation, but the person who was the subject of that potential did not win re-election, so it became a non-issue.
Oh, so I thought you were gonna say they resigned, right, no. Cause usually the people who do something like that are the ones who will not resign, you know.
That was Goins.
It was Niskuna, and honestly, like, the issue wasn't like the crime of the century, it was, in my opinion,
Petty.
yeah, just political kind of
Yeah, sure.
stuff that you
Do
see.
you, don't you automatically, do you ever get removed if that were a felony conviction or something like that?
I don't think so, cause
No.
I'm just only thinking out loud because of somebody.
Shelley did, remember Shelley Silver got it,
Yeah, but
If
I'm
you get
just-
convicted of something, you can no longer serve.
what's that?
If you get convicted of
You
certain
can still be
things,
president.
you're no longer able to serve.
Oh,
Alright,
if you're
when we go through that,
that's, is that true?
Okay.
Doug, I changed a bunch of these, but when we go through it, we'll check them as we go, thank you. Alright, so, back to procurement policy questions.
Are you kidding? Every time I get a notice,
Did you guys see anything in section 1 that needed to be addressed? Cause I feel like that's,
No.
okay. Alright, section 2, one of the big things that I changed in this, and this is reflected in the local law that that I'm hoping to propose, is changing the language purchaser to purchasing agent. Because, and it's defined here, every village official, board member, department head, or other employee with requisite purchasing authority, hereinafter purchasing agent. So it kind of covers all of those situations as they're supposed to
So
appear.
is that purchasing authority, do we have that embedded in job descriptions, or is that specific by board authorization?
That would be all tied into job descriptions for department heads and just general municipal law for normal spending that would be
Do we
decided
have
by.
that in job descriptions for these
So-
plans?
Just to add to that, I know Niskuna has in their purchasing policy lists the people who have the
The
ability
names of those
to-
who have the authority to
So it would be like
purchase.
Kenny and, you know what I mean, like your
Sure.
department heads
Right.
essentially,
I think
but
that would be
they're
good as part of
listed
an
right in there.
organizational meeting, we just note that,
Yeah,
cause I don't, it's a whole other thing going back
Yes.
into job description that we may
Yeah.
not have.
We could also right here add, we can specify we could specify this here as well.
Yeah.
But no, I think if we leave it here and specify it in the organization meeting, I think you're right
Yeah, and
on.
then we don't get into somebody thinking they were purchasing. it.
Yes,
right,
There's questions about whether
I mean,
Yes.
you really only have, we're talking, I mean, what, you have the police, Kenny, and,
they are. Well, the old one
water
had,
and
the
sewer.
old one had committee
Water.
chairs. The old,
Like in the pool.
yeah, had
Yeah.
committee chairs,
I think we-
could do purchasing.
Why do I think we did have authority to authorize certain purchases, right?
people, trustees who oversee departments do, that comes up.
Oh, okay.
I can't
Up
remember
to a
where.
Or is your
certain
question,
dollar, up
do
to a
we have the
dollar.
ability to just buy
Well,
something?
there's like the
Right.
emergency.
Like a new
purchasing.
computer for
Does
the,
Kenny
Yes.
have to go to you, for example, to
Yeah,
get
like,
something?
that's an emergency thing, which does come up here, and
Yeah.
that's mayor, deputy mayor, department head.
The emergency purchasing.
So
it's
department heads
emergency
can
only.
contact
I
the
believe
mayor or
so.
the deputy mayor
Yeah.
to approve it. That is coming, that's
Oh,
good.
okay.
Alright, so just to go through the village official shall estimate the cumulative amount of items. This basically speaks to how the budget process works. So they estimate the cumulative amount of items of supply or equipment needed in a given fiscal year. The estimate shall include the canvas of other village departments and past history department expenditures to determine the likely yearly value of the commodity to be acquired. It's a little bit of funky language, so if you wanna revise that, I'm fine. And then the information gathered and conclusions reached shall be documented and kept for the file of the documentation supporting the purchase activity. This collection of estimates shall be turned in the mayor or treasurer. I added and or treasurer, because typically it has been the treasurer who's initially collected those, but this language had the mayor, for beginning the next annual budget. So that language is just basically hard coding the department heads, which would be water, sewer, DPW, police. It would make sense to have a department, someone in the village office for village office type supplies, although it's probably just Denise by default. But we can codify that. It just depicts their responsibility to look at, last year's, this year's, and plan it according for the next year, and those documents are turned over to myself and Denise, and those become part of the official record.
Should you scratch the word or if you wanna go into both? Just wondering.
The or allows it, like if the mayor who is a part-time position is not available and the treasurer's there every day, it can just go to the treasurer and that's checked off. I don't wanna create extra problems by the fact that the mayor is not a full-time job. Is there anything else in there? Alright, purchase subjects to formal bids, all purchases of, now this is what I'm hoping that you can verify. Supplies or equipment which exceed 20,000 in the fiscal year, or public works contracts that exceed 35,000 shall be formally bid pursuant to General Municipal Law 103, and is the New York State threshold. That's, okay, it used to be 20,010 maybe, or 15?
I don't remember what the lower one was.
Okay, but these changed
Yeah.
within the past 6 or 7 years, so we wanna make sure that's correct, so that's good. And this is just saying that anything that's exceeds 20,000 or exceeds 35,000 in these two categories has to be bid according to general municipal law.
Is that a single purchase, Rob? I'm assuming, right?
No, so the way actually it reads, it can be a single purchase, but technically they're supposed to look in aggregate over the course of a 12-month period.
Yes.
So, I know, I'm just trying to think like pump parts sometimes, or pumps themselves.
Right.
You know, I don't know how many different pump stations or whatever are here, but I know.
Too many.
So,
Yeah.
you know, typically that can be something that over the course of the year might exceed the $35,000. You're not supposed to be like, oh, we're gonna buy a pump in February and a pump in October, and that way they're single purchases, so we get out of having to bid. You're supposed to kind of forecast over a 12-month period.
The problem with that is usually there's only one company that makes.
Well, that's a different situation,
Yeah.
cause then you have a sole source.
Right,
And that is laid out in general municipal law.
okay.
But you would just have the delivery dates on the purchase order is listed as one, like as soon as possible, and then the balance, the other one, 6 months
Yeah,
out,
I
right?
mean, I guess it
You-
depends on how you go out to bid, like, I know I've seen with like paving, if you know there's gonna be certain paving over the course of the year, you kinda go out to bid
For that.
for us, I mean, I don't know the correct terminology, but you know what I mean, there's different ways that you can bid it where they can do price points based off of whether it's a mile or, you know what I mean,
Sure.
however they do it. So you can get like those rates locked in, and then however much you need to use over the course of the year.
I got you.
That's what we do with salt, right? We buy like a
There's
volume
all
of salt,
sorts of
but
stuff
we get it
that's-
delivered.
You don't have a choice with salt, you have to buy a
Probably
certain
like
amount of
chemicals
salt.
for water treatment
And it's
plants
probably state
and-
contract.
It is state contract, so right,
Yeah.
yes it is.
And that, it goes through chips or something, right? No?
You can use CHIPS money for that, yes. Alright, so number 4 is really kind of the big change, and I'm gonna show you, before I show you the new, let me reference the old for a moment. This is the layout of the old version. Method of purchase documentation required, all estimated purchases of, and these are not contracts, this is basically equipments and goods or supplies. So less than 10, which is the old number, cause that number is now 20, but less than 10 and greater than 5 requires a written request for proposal, and written or fax quotes from more than 3 vendors. If it falls below 5,000 but higher than 500, require written fax quotes from 3 vendors. If it's less than 1,000 but greater than 500, which is such a very small amount, it requires 3 verbal quotes, and the fourth is less than 500 is left to the discretion of the purchaser. So I have proposed changing it, taking out one of these completely and adding a little bit of language, and I laid it out this way, which I think is a little bit easier to read. So first off, this has to be under 20,000 because 20,000 we are required to put it out to bid. So starting with the highest category, and this is where I wanna make sure that these numbers are copacetic with whatever we're allowed to do. If estimated purchases of goods or services falls between 5,000 and just under 20,000, it requires a written request for proposal and written or faxed or emailed quote from at least 3 vendors, so 3 or more vendors. The next category down, which I kinda categorized 2, and I don't know if this language will work, but I'm interested to know. 1,000 to just under 5,000 requires written fax or email quotes from 3 or more vendors. And then we've had situations in the past where we could only get 2 to respond, so I've kinda created this language which I would love you guys to wordsmith, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. In the case that at least 3 vendors receive multiple requests for a quote and a reasonable time, 3 weeks minimum, has gone by, 2 received quotes will be acceptable, but the record must include the failed attempts to receive a 3rd quote. We've done that before.
Yes.
Is that language okay or appropriate to have in there? Or do you suggest changes?
It's okay to have in there, but I'm wondering what's the difference between that one and 5,000 to 19,999.
I just didn't include that language because of the threshold of cost. We could certainly include that same language there. But this one is 3 or more vendors, and if you can't get a 3rd vendor within 3 weeks, then 2 is okay and you show that you've done the 3rd. We
do
could
that all the
repeat
time.
that in here as well.
Yeah, I think it should be,
I
cause
think
for,
it should be
yeah.
repeated, but then you should make a distinction between the two and say just 2 or more vendors or something for the smaller threshold.
So this one is just basically you get someone to email you a quote, but this one requires a written
Proposal.
proposal.
cause, and
Which
that
you're not
goes,
always gonna get, because if you're buying a good and not a service, you're not gonna get a proposal, you're
Yeah.
gonna get this is how much it costs.
So do you think
Right.
some of this could be simplified?
What I would do is, this is just a suggestion, but
Sure.
I'm thinking that middle one, just do 2 or more vendors. Instead of a written request for proposal, just written quotes
Okay.
and or proposal, because you might have a service that you need
Okay.
for that amount, and then maybe do an asterisk next to them and include that language.
Is an RFP required for that one?
No,
Okay.
For the middle one.
for the middle one there's not. So
But
you
typically, like an RFP is usually gonna be more appropriate for like a service type agreement versus a, you know what I mean, like a purchase for something.
Yes.
right, well, the exception of like,
Right.
for like Megan said, like for, like one of those pumps they just bought was like $6,000, right, wasn't it like $8,000 for the pump we bought?
well,
But that's
Right,
the
12,
cost,
okay, so that's a perfect example, right.
yeah.
that's the cost of the good, you're not gonna receive a proposal for that.
Right.
The
I got
you know what I mean,
I
like,
got, okay,
to me,
I
a
got you.
request for a proposal is more an in-depth, like,
I
these
got
are the services we're going to
Service
offer you
contract
for
more
this
so
amount of
than
money.
any, yeah, I got you, I got you.
And it never really made sense the original way it was with this part, so I'm
Well, what I've seen municipalities frequently do is they rig it and they get fake quotes in order to give it to their favorite, and then they favor that person in another. I can name 3 municipalities in this area that does that.
who got
They get paper quotes that are not real, and the vendor knows that, so they satisfy the paper ones.
oh I could see that.
And
As-
then they reward that through another.
I could see that, like as a teacher, if we have to get 3 quotes for something, I know I can go online for 2 and see what the price is. And if I have a choice vendor, they can certainly do the same thing. It definitely skirts the idea and reason behind that law.
Yeah.
Technically, it's okay, cause technically you have
It's
3,
paper
but
cover.
yeah.
NRFPs are often written around the specs of a certain vendor.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Otherwise,
what do they call narrowly tailored or
Yeah.
something, or
Yeah,
like if in your instrument thing, it's gotta have 4 keys and on whatever, and you know that only this one
Yeah, that's
company
exactly it.
yeah.
makes
Right.
that
That's like the
product.
spec,
Right.
truck specs, they, right,
Yes.
so it can only be like an international based
Right.
on the,
Yep.
you know, or
27-inch wheelbase,
Yeah,
the only
exactly.
company that makes that, right?
So for this middle column, is this what you were thinking? 2 or more vendors? Do we need
Yeah.
this?
Well, I don't know that I think you can put it as an asterisk underneath the whole
Okay.
thing, you know
Yep.
what I mean?
And then I can reference it in the next one.
And then maybe just tweak the language.
Asterisk both of them, you mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
and then it doesn't have to say in the case of at least 3 vendors, it could say in the case where, I don't know, the
The
number of
minimum
quotes
required
Yeah.
vendors.
required
Yes.
is unable to be obtained.
Vendor.
And that doesn't apply to an emergency.
No, emergency, there's usually a separate
Okay, so-
provision in the procurement
What?
policy for emergency
What's that?
situations and how to handle
I'm
that.
just reading it out loud so I can.
Case of the minimum required vendor quotes are not met,
It's only 3
We're
weeks.
not on water.
I would say not obtained,
oh yeah, like that,
or
Right.
unable to be obtained.
okay. Unable to be, that article was,
Obtained.
obtained.
right. Sorry, I was distracted by Deb. Deb's topic, cause that article was crazy. And a reasonable time has gone by to, I leave it like this. One fewer quote would be acceptable instead of two, so it applies to both of these.
Yeah,
So essentially you're saying one quote is fine for the two
no,
quotes?
one fewer quote, so if you need two, at least two quotes, then you only need one technically, and
Right.
if you need
Yeah.
three, then you only need two.
Oh, that's,
Right.
I love that, okay. Do we still need, for this higher column, a written request for proposal and a written fax email quote? Is this language not necessary?
What I would think is mimic the same language as above, but maybe add email quote or oh you do, and or
Yeah.
proposal, so same thing.
So just make it and or instead of,
And or written, yeah.
Okay,
So it's discretionary depending on the complexity of it.
that's perfect. So with this language, this column, you can still get written, faxed, or emailed quote,
right,
but you can also go for a written request for proposal, but you don't have to if you don't need to. So in a sense, anything from 1,000 to 19,999, you can just get emailed quotes to you. You have the option for the request for proposal, but you don't have to take
But
it.
you might want a proposal again if you're going, like, I'm just thinking, for instance, we just did like new cleaning services.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, something like that, you're gonna want more detail as to what does that mean, what buildings are being
Right.
cleaned, you know?
right,
So if it's a services, you're not gonna want just a quote, because the quote's not gonna give you all the information that you need to determine who's gonna
Should-
get the award.
Should we specify a request or proposal for services only, or just?
No, I think it's open-ended, it's
Okay.
discretionary.
So this is we're good with this?
Yep.
We'll need to adjust the next column as well, cause I kind of mimicked the same thing. So just to show you the previous one, this is the previous setup for public works contracts. And again, 35,000 is the threshold that requires the bidding. But there were 4 categories here, I've simplified it to 3, and I tried to mimic the items before, so we'll have to do that again. So here is the draft language for I left 4, I'm sorry, public work contracts. I did leave the 4, and we'll have to modify some language again. But starting with the highest threshold, 20,000 to under 35, requires a written request for proposal and written fax or email quotes from at least 3 vendors, and or. And I'll do the asterisk thing again, so I'll just kind of do the asterisk and I'll copy that again. 10,000 to 19,999 requires written faxed email quotes from 3 contractors. Should I use vendors? I don't know why I did
Yeah, I
contractors.
should say vendors.
Rob, when you say RFP, you're talking about what goes out in the newspaper, right, that, so it's publicly.
Yes. Yes.
A bid proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
so
that's-
It's similar,
Of a
but it's,
published bid.
I think there's rules on that. The way to do that coming up. I feel like there are little things that you have to do to make sure it's there. We'll double check that. Do you want me to take the language from previously and just throw it in here?
So it goes down
or
to
you
2.
do an asterisk like you did the last time,
Yes.
is
So
that what you're talking about?
yeah, let me grab this again and throw it down here. And let me go back up to this language. Requires a written fax or email quote and a proposal from 2 or more vendors. Are we throwing the 2 or more vendors in here with the asterisk?
yeah,
Yeah.
to match
And then
what you
less
have.
than 2,000, now this is a big change because previously it was like 500.
Right.
But I felt like 2,000 because of how much things cost right now, we could leave that to the discretion of the purchasing agent. And the purchaser shall make reasonable efforts to obtain the best price.
What's the safeguard there from somebody granting somebody a $1,500 contract and then a month later another $1,500 contract?
That goes to the aggregation, then they're in violation, cause you have to look at.
12 months.
The other thing I would I know I don't always see in procurement policies, but just something, if you're gonna change from 500 to 2,000, maybe make it so long as said purchase is within the approved budget. And anything that's
Oh.
outside of the budget needs to get the approval of the board.
I like that.
Okay, I like that a lot. Can you,
Cause how many times we heard, I got the money in my budget.
yes, Yes.
Right.
Well,
So therefore, it's gotta be spent.
Right.
so, can you suggest some language for that?
I mean, you can do it as a comma after the first, so left to the discretion of the purchasing agent, I mean.
Times a pizza call.
I mean, you could just say as long as said purchase is within the approved budget for the fiscal year. If not, will require.
Well, isn't that true across the board?
Not technically,
Yeah,
I mean
all
technically, if you
contracts
give them
have-
the discretion and it's $2,000, you know what I mean, like, if
Yeah,
they
but
wanna
it's-
make a purchase that's not within the budget and, but that yet they have the ability through the procurement policy, or the discretion through the procurement policy to make the purchase.
But any of this requires that the money has been authorized.
I mean, you could just do a separate thing. I read that if you have a department head who has the discretion to approve something up to $2,000,
Yep.
There's no formal process.
there's no, right, like if they want, like all of a sudden you have a purchase that maybe they deem necessary and it's not budgeted for, technically there should be some type of budget you know what I mean? It might be
Yeah.
approved, but technically there's supposed to be a budget modification or something too.
Okay.
So it kind of triggers the need to do that budget modification before they get the approval.
We could change 2,000 to 1,000 and move the next column down 1,000
Why
and,
don't we, cause then it mirrors the previous one, mirrors the services one. And they should be the same. It also assumes there's a contract, because
Yes.
for services,
cause services is gonna be this one, so yeah, it would mirror this.
but that's a purchase of services, that doesn't require, because I know we are paying people and there's no documentation of a independent contractor. There's no independent contractor agreement, so somebody may get $500 or $750, put up Christmas lights or anything. It's an oral agreement, there's no paperwork outside of writing a check,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
So as an example, in the past, the board approved someone to do decorations for the holiday season.
Or to mow something, yeah.
Mowing, because we have properties that get overgrown and get reported, and, well, that's interesting, cause we do have people who will mow, they'll bill us, and we bill the property owner, and that gets re-levied. But-
Okay, the other one, there's no paper. There's an agreement, pay somebody $500 to put up lights. There's just a check.
There's been board motions on that in the past, and I know that's, but,
But there should be an agreement, I would say if it's an independent contractor, you need an agreement, if they get hurt, are they an employee, there should be a paper
Yeah.
agreement, even a letter that says you're doing
For,
this.
for someone like, for example, like Bradley's Electric or something like that. Like, say, for example, Deb just said, the light's out on John Street. So, would you have, is that a service to them?
let me throw an example that we've done in the past.
Okay.
A couple years back, we officially moved to have, I think it was Aaron Bazinski do decorations
Yes.
of Wood
Yep.
Park. We did that through board motion, we approved that in the year, and he did it and was paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
The following year, I think we budgeted it, but we never specifically approved it as an item, or I'm not sure if we did, I honestly don't know.
I see what you're saying, if it was a budget line item, but it was
Yeah.
not.
So maybe that's more of the treasurer should just get some sort of confirmation, or maybe the department head, which in that situation, I think would probably be the treasurer, because it's kind of municipal buildings, or no, it would probably be
Kenny.
it'd be Kenny, should get an email trail, this is the job and the task, and I've completed it, and submit that with the check.
And that's true for the sidewalks fixing too.
When we hire someone to do that.
Oh, there is definitely a bid for that.
There's no, as my understanding is, the treasurer does not have any confirmation that the work has been done or approved. It's a confirmation that they're doing it.
Oh, I see
The
what
person
you're
just
saying.
says, pay me, she pays, and there's nothing back coming from Kenny saying it satisfied the work, because there's no documentation of completion.
So
I have to check with I don't know about that.
No, that's what she said.
Oh, to Denise
I
then?
went through it, yeah.
Oh,
So if I-
okay.
I heard that
it's-
before I talked to Denise.
it's more
about
of
it.
Oh, okay, alright.
It's more of a word of mouth thing, but
Yeah,
there's no
it's that verbal
documentation
stuff
or
gets
email
me
trail.
nervous.
No, you're totally
So
right.
if I'm understanding it correct, basically Denise could get a request for payment, she pays it, but she doesn't know.
That the
The
job
work
is
is
That's
done.
what jobs are.
Kenny,
Right,
the
so
department
she-
head is supposed to go by and make sure not only that it was done,
Yeah.
inspected, and then release, authorizes the release of payment, is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the purchasing agent should
So-
authorize the release.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
she'll call and
confirm the work
confirm
has
it.
been done, we're satisfied with the work, now it's okay to pay.
And that voucher does get signed at some point in the process of approving vouchers, but
Yeah,
to
we
your
signed the
point,
vouchers,
there's
right.
there's one step where the documentation is missing.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
she should be sending something to Kenny, I've got a request for payment on sidewalks.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, I mean,
Am I clear?
I'm sure there's nothing in writing, like you're saying, Doug, but she's just not
She
gonna
should
write.
have anything in verbal. She
Yeah.
just gets the bill and she pays it.
Or she checks with them. and
Kenny's
pays
out
it.
of it. Kenny is about this is what's happening, but is not doing anything on the other end.
So she can just confirm
Okay.
through email with Kenny that the job was done, and Kenny will confirm it, and then she's okay
Dan
to pay.
authorizes the payment.
And
Great.
I think
That's
that
an easy one
it's
to
probably
bring
a good
up.
idea too, because we're gonna have a new accountant probably the next year who may not have the same,
Yes, that's right.
like if Pat Bacaitis tells you he did the sidewalk, you know the sidewalk's done, right?
Right.
You know, but
The procedure should be the same no matter who.
Doesn't matter who the contractor is, or
Yeah.
what department it is.
I will.
So essentially, it's that the purchasing agent, if it's verbal or, you know, there's not really real form, needs to approve the release of the dollars.
Yes.
That's,
And that will come up as well with police purchases as well, that she has to pay. Now, there's other things which are later that are exemptions like utility bills, that you don't have to do that, she just does the paying, but, that's an, I think, a pretty easy memo to go out to department heads, just saying, hey, this is a policy we wanna make sure we're aware of. Alright, anything else in this one? We've changed this to less than 1,000. 1,000 to under 10,000 requires 2 or more vendors, quotes. 10,000 to just under 20 is written as 3, and then 20 to just under 35 is the written request for proposal and or at least 3. Everyone good with that? Okay. And from what I've seen, these numbers are left up to the discretion of the local. Okay, which is why we can change that, but we can't change the state thresholds from when the bidding process happens. Alright, 2 other items with here, any written RFP shall describe the desired goods quantity and particulars for delivery. The purchasing agent shall compile a list of all vendors from whom written, fax, oral quotes. I'll add email. I don't like oral quotes, I just like email.
Oral quotes are a thing of the past.
Yeah, email quotes have been requested.
Any texted quotes?
Why is,
oh,
No.
it has to be documentation.
No.
Otherwise, you could have one party say that wasn't the agreement, and the other one says that's what it was. And
Right,
there's
no, And
money's
text is not applicable either, I don't
Yeah,
think,
no, I don't think
I
so.
added the word received because it didn't make sense to say and the written fax email quotes.
just because it's stored in
It's
the
documented.
cloud doesn't mean
Yeah.
that it's actual.
And then
I wanna
B,
see it.
Right.
all information gathered in complying with the procedures of this guideline shall be preserved and filed with documentation supporting the subsequent purchase or public
I
contract.
deleted a text
This
message
isn't
by
a
accident,
guideline,
but
is it?
you changed
What's
somebody's
that?
This
name
isn't
to
guide.
my
Sure.
name and.
Oh, yeah,
You know.
you can.
This is
Well,
our
here's our
procurement
agreement,
policy,
like,
these will
you
become.
Yeah, so I don't
copy
know if we
and,
need to say
you
on this
know,
guideline.
I think
Oh,
it's
I
just
see.
A guideline is kind of a general guide, this is procedure.
So how, just these procedures?
Yeah, shall be, yeah. No, I would just take out of this guideline.
Okay. Good?
Yeah.
These? What's it?
Right?
These versus the?
Yeah.
That would make sense, it applies, I think they're both probably fine. These? Okay. Awarding of contracts. I don't think I changed much in here, the lowest responsible proposal. Oh, this is where we're gonna jump into the local levels, just finish this off, this is mostly the same language.
Should be the purchase of services or public works.
Thank you. Of, was it goods and services
Yeah, goods and services.
or public works? Those functions of course should be awarded the purchase of goods. and so- or
Of
public
a
works.
goods and services or public works contract, is that?
Help me word that.
That doesn't make sense.
I think I could probably just get rid of this.
Shall be awarded the contract for the purchase of goods or services.
Awarded the, say that again?
Contract, I think,
Contract.
yeah,
It's just related to the one that's.
Cut and paste,
Yeah.
Goods and
Insert.
services.
Or,
Public,
or,
goods and
Purchase
services or
or-
public works contract are all separate things.
how do I?
goods,
So you can take out
service,
good instead of.
get rid of and put a
Yeah.
Oh,
comma.
I see, thank
And then
you.
change it to purchaser.
Oop. Good,
Unless the purchase.
Wouldn't it be a purchaser?
thank you. Or purchasing agent?
Whatever,
Actually,
where-
that would
yeah.
be better for the
Written jurisdiction, right,
purchasing.
So, I don't think this is legal until we pass that local law.
yeah. What's that, awarding the bid when not to the lowest bidder?
Yeah. And that's,
Yeah, but realistically, are you going to have anything going out to bid before you pass
No.
the local?
no, that's, yeah, we're not. I'm gonna come back to this in a minute, cause this is kind of what we have been doing. If a bidder is not deemed responsible, facts supporting that judgment shall also be documented and filed. We have done that in the past.
Yes, we have, it's not that long
The
ago.
gazebo flooring, we had
Yes.
someone who didn't have the proper insurance, so we
Right.
had to remove that
Yeah.
quote, yeah.
Do we wanna say something anywhere about, supporting local businesses where we can?
As a
Or is
preference,
that-
as a preference.
Yeah, I don't know if that's,
Where would we build
Appropriate here, but
a
I think it's
preference to
a-
support local
it's a
businesses?
village, that's a good thing.
Well, it's,
Can we just
it's
leave it in our hearts and not actually write it down?
thinking that.
That's
we're-
probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do
So,
that.
Doug, what were you saying?
Thinking that we're gonna have a lot of public work projects to move it forward.
Right,
That's
but-
one of the concerns of even getting local businesses to bid,
Yeah.
is they feel they're gonna go through a lot of hoops, you're gonna use their numbers, you're gonna go outside the area.
In fact, most of those larger bidding processes almost always exclude local contractors because of the sheer volume of work it takes to fulfill all of the little things they have to check. I remember that when we did the sewer project in particular. All the very few local contractors would do it, and we would be like, why aren't you guys doing it? And they're like, let me show you all the stuff we have to do.
Lack of capacity.
Oh my gosh.
And then they feel they're used by giving a verbal bid or giving some guidance
Yeah.
to.
And they have to pay their employees prevailing wage,
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
which a lot of them try not to do.
for better or for worse.
Is there a way to say we have a preference set as long as it's within the mandated guidelines of the state?
I mean, I think that would fit,
It's really an intention.
in this section here, methods of purchase, documents retired. I think here is where we would add something about the intention or the preference or
And-
something like that. Is there
So
a way
wouldn't
to,
wouldn't that also fall under Doug's earlier point about
Minority
the,
women-owned businesses,
yeah.
veteran
Yeah.
businesses, local businesses.
Yeah, you don't usually see, I mean, when you do a procurement policy, our procurement policy is really supposed to be more like, these are the monetary thresholds, this is what you need to get to satisfy it. I have been doing a little bit of research as we sit here to get some language for you, but I think like it's gonna probably depend contract to contract too. You know, I know like with police or like towing contracts, sometimes they really need, you know, emergency response, so you might wanna look to somebody more locally and you can kinda tailor the contract towards a certain mile radius. But that might not be, you know, you might not get the best monetary value for that, so then you have to go into a whole, you know, a bigger project, a whole separate, are you giving it to a local person that costs more, or are you giving it to the lowest bidder? You know what I mean, it gets a little bit more murky. My suggestion would be to do it on a case by case basis, and you can put it right in the bid documents if it's.
But not put it in the policy.
that makes sense.
I guess is it legal to do it, I guess, to give
That's where I think it
preference.
gets murky, because really the idea behind like general municipal law is that you're supposed to be getting, I don't wanna say the cheapest, because obviously you do have to have the best value as well, but you know, you're supposed to be watching taxpayer dollars, and if it's gonna cost more to give it to local business.
the good old boy
That might
concept.
sound, that might sound great, but technically,
Mhm.
you know, unless there's a reason for it, like I said, you know, you get the police who have to respond to accidents and they need the accident scene cleaned up quick, so they need to get a tow company who can come and clean it up and do it. Then that's justified, I think, to kind of limit it, but
Yeah.
absent the need to limit it, I don't know that.
Can it be where allowable?
Can it be what?
A statement like where allowable, where it's allowable?
Practical.
Or practical and appropriate.
Yeah, something like
So
that.
you get two bids for the same amount, $100 and $100.
One's-
One's local, one's not.
Well,
So,
that's a
Well,
no-brainer.
that's a,
right, I know, but do we need that to be written down?
But even though it's in the procurement policy, when you go, this is where like, you go out to bid, the people who are seeing the requests for bids or request proposals aren't looking at the procurement policy, then that also has to go into the request for bids and request for proposals, or it really doesn't matter.
But by putting it in this section, it only applies to things that don't hit the threshold that were required. It
Oh, if
goes
you're putting
out.
it in this section.
In this section, it would stay within the, yeah. Because then we wouldn't be hitting the threshold and hitting all the various state laws. So if we put it in here, it would only apply to these charts. And
Pretty
that's, I
much
think,
anything
what we're
under-
trying to do.
under 20,000.
Um,
I think you're complicating it, but
That's,
that's just me.
I
That's-
agree with you.
alright. I mean, we do this naturally, all
That's
of our
what I-
department
Yeah,
heads
that's what I mean, you're
do
always
this
gonna
when they
be-
can,
Yeah.
but we're also trying to set this up for long term.
Well, we hope that people that get elected will also have the same ability to do that.
Mindset.
So is the
Yeah.
collective that we like this in theory, but we're not gonna put it in there?
That works. I mean, you're right, we do that
I mean, we
anyway.
do it now. We know we do it.
You do it where it's in the best interest in the village and that the numbers don't necessarily show that. And part of the best interest of the village is that dollars are going through the village and not outside the village.
Right.
Like, if you get a contractor from Latham versus a contractor from Hoosick
And it's
Falls,
a $500 difference.
it's $500 difference, it's a no-brainer to keep it local.
Yeah,
But-
that's really where we
but-
wanna be.
Right, I know what you're saying.
The local law that's proposed will address that, because that's one of the things that they modified the spending to allow for. And rationale for that, and
Okay.
So you have a little
Yeah.
wiggle room.
well, it doesn't require you to do lowest bid, it allows you to bring in a lot of different possibilities. So if, for the example, you have someone local versus someone who's far away, or if someone local can do it this week, but the other person
The
who came
lowest
in
bidder
later
can't do it
can't
for
do
a
it for a
month.
month,
Right, right.
you can document and
And
choose
that's
and
the
it's
lowest
okay.
practical bid
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Alright, so awarding of contracts, I have one, no, I think we already looked at this one. This is the one I had a question on, in this, because this is the old language.
Good faith.
I don't know about the no event.
I don't think this is necessary.
No, but I think it's reasonable as it reads. You make your best faith effort, that's the only thing you can do.
I feel like with that asterisk thing and allowing for
I
one
was just
quote, we
gonna
already
say,
built that in.
yeah, shouldn't that just copy the asterisks that we've already?
I don't necessarily disagree with it, but it might be redundant.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, I mean,
It's like, the way I read that is like, okay, if I need to get 3 quotes in order to meet my requirements under the procurement policy,
yeah,
technically, if I'm unable to obtain all 3, then I could do 2.
yes,
There's difference here.
But what if I'm only able to get 1? What I'm reading this to be is, if I'm only able to get 1 after 3 weeks or whatever it said in the prior asterisk, then it's not going to be a bar to purchasing it. Otherwise, if you're required to get 2 and you don't get 2, where's the authorization to make the
You're
purchase?
saying you really
Unless
can't,
it
you're
can-
saying you can't buy it.
Unless you can fall into like a sole source, or if you get it under state contract, there may be a way around it, but.
I don't like the language because it kind of negates all the other stuff we said. Well, it's nice that it requires 3, but I only can get 1 and I went 3 weeks, so let's just do the 1. I don't like that. I mean, it's only happened very, very few times, and it just means you have to find another vendor to ask, or you just keep pushing until they get something back to you. Or you go the improper way and get
I
something.
see the difference, that this has good faith effort, which going the improper way is not making good faith effort.
Right.
And And that, the other statement doesn't have the word good faith in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the integrity statement that you're trying to
And,
get.
and if, I mean, the language above didn't it require documentation or?
It did.
Yeah,
So it sounds like you guys are okay with leaving this.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I just highlighted it so I didn't forget. Alright, exceptions. Except when directed by the village board, no solicitation of written proposals or quotations shall be required under the following circumstances, behold.
Sole source situations.
I need to adjust
The
this
numbers, right?
number,
We added 1,000.
cause we fixed that previously.
Goods purchased from correctional facilities, it's good to put in there.
What is it?
You never know. Ironically enough, what we ended up getting from the correctional facility was
They got
that
state contracts.
Cuomo directed sanitizer that smelled god awful and everyone got for
Oh.
free and that no one wanted. Do you remember that?
Really
Yeah.
liquidy and gross.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
so disgusting. But anyway.
Street alcohol.
Any issues or any things to add? Alright, oh man, Dan, finally the part that Dan was excited about, and then he's in the bathroom, so whatever. Anyway, emergency purchases. I think I adjusted some things here, so. All officers, agents, and department heads for the village must first obtain the approval of the village mayor and or committee chairman of that department for any
Chairpersons?
purchase in excess of, and I just threw out the $2,000.
Chairperson,
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Oh man.
you can just say chair.
Yeah, committee chair. Yep. I said I just don't like that initial statement, it just seems weird. But we can go on for a moment unless you wanna suggest a change. This is the emergency thing, Dan. In the case of an emergency, the mayor and or deputy mayor may approve such purchase provided that the approval of such purchase could not wait until the next regular village board meeting, which is how we do it. If purchase is made under this emergency condition, the purchasing agent and chief fiscal officer. Now I added language here. Will inform the village board of such purchase in email ahead of the next regular meeting and make note of it on the record at its next regular meeting. I adjusted that by adding the email and putting it on the record. That's something that we typically do,
Right.
but I think it should be policy, yeah.
So why did you choose 2,000?
I don't know. I think the original number was like,
It's 1,500 in the other one.
just because things have become more expensive.
So cost.
Well, right. I just didn't know if it
But we
was-
could change that number, it's, yeah. I just went
No,
up a little
that's-
bit higher cause everything's been a little
That's
more
fine.
expensive, yeah. Is there anything in here or
Chief fiscal officer should be treasurer, we should be
Yeah,
consistent
what's chief
about that.
fiscal officer?
the chief fiscal officer is a
CFO.
state mandated, I think
I
I'm the
was gonna
chief
say,
fiscal
isn't the
officer.
mayor the CFO
I
of the
think
village?
Yeah.
Just CFO.
I think it's me.
Mayor,
Um,
CFO, CEO,
It's
COO.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could change it to chief fiscal
Executive
officer
officer.
or treasurer.
if the purchase would, I'm just again asking questions, just what I've seen with other places, but if the purchase would otherwise be approved by the village board, why not just get majority approval of the board via email?
Yeah, at that board meeting.
Not if it's done via email, and then you follow up at the board meeting and
Right.
make it retro
Right.
too.
We've done that, so we've done that.
That way it's
prior.
all written, documented, and you know you have at least, cause if the mayor's approving it by
It's the
himself.
treasurer, chief fiscal officer is the treasurer.
Yeah, I just would be concerned it's an emergency it's an emergency purchase, but there's a debate among the board, you can't get a majority on the purchase.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
why there has to be one person that,
They'll make
What
that
if it's a very large purchase?
huh?
Cause it's just in excess of 2,000, there's no cap, so what if it was like a $50,000 purchase that you're letting one person make the determination of?
So we could set a threshold.
Or somebody decided, this is the time I'm gonna buy a new dump truck.
Yes.
Well, it has to be an emergency, like you can't plow the snow now,
Right.
Right, exactly.
now let's go through a long debate about it.
So who gets the ability to make that decision? That's a good example.
Okay, I think what we're saying is that it can't be solely by the purchasing agent. The process would be that the purchasing agent would go to whoever they report to whether it be directly the mayor and or committee chair. You could say that decision will be made by the committee,
So before we even get to the emergency stuff,
but we have to be able to be nimble about it. I don't think it can be,
It can't drag out,
Right.
right?
yeah,
Right.
or you can't get a hold of somebody and you're,
so this is before we even get to the emergency stuff, this doesn't apply to emergencies, this is just a general statement. And I don't think that aligns with things we've said already.
no,
But your
that's-
header says emergency purchase.
Yeah, but this is how it
Let's
appeared
just get rid of
previously.
that
Oh.
part,
Yeah.
just
So
get rid of
I'm-
it.
that says for any purchase.
We can get rid of this, right? That's not necessary.
It's an original way to-
Yeah, because the second sentence is in case of an emergency.
Right.
So-
So I'm gonna blow the sentence away.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And your I don't like this.
No, I'm gonna leave that. You kidding me?
I don't like the deleted statement.
I don't like emergency purchase.
Oh,
I don't like this.
Too far.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine with
I
the
know,
mayor and
clearly I
deputy
started
mayor.
my cursing here.
Okay.
It does not mean I wanna go.
Yes.
I know.
We could also put a statement, the board should be informed immediately.
That that is where I put
Well informed is what, yep.
inform the village board of such a purchase in email ahead of the next regular meeting. If you want it to be sooner, that's fine. But that's kind of what we try to do, that's been the thing what we've been doing as best we can, but I wanted to make it policy.
Now, let's go back on that. So if there's a case, a $10,000 purchase,
Oh, pump goes down,
and
we can't make water.
the purchasing agent is not obligated to go to you, but could go to you. It's like, do I go to mom? Instead of
Or go,
dad?
who's gonna say yes?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
You
then
know what I
we
mean?
can change the language to be or deputy mayor if the mayor is unavailable.
Yeah.
How does that,
Yes.
okay, could, that makes sense. Yeah,
Usually, not to butt in, but usually it says and or their designee. Like if you're gonna be out of town, usually you have,
yeah,
Same diff,
what's that?
it's the same diff,
yeah.
same difference.
Well, if I'm out of town and he's out of town, someone else is
Yeah,
gonna
what if
designate.
we're all, what if you both are out of town? So you.
They had before, Kevin was the mayor
Right.
for the weekend, right, or something?
You could say,
Yeah, cause you guys were both in there like,
Everybody,
we had to decide who was gonna play mayor for the weekend or something.
How about that? Or
I don't know if
deputy,
you need parentheses
And/or
there.
Yeah.
It's like during the,
You know
The deputy, the mayor, if the mayor isn't available, it's the deputy mayor, if neither available, their designee.
Yeah,
Which could be the committee chair, the department chair.
yes,
That would be the order of,
I'm all about contingencies.
okay,
An emergency,
alright,
we're
so
gonna need-
so we're good with this?
yep,
And then annual review, the village board, this is normal?
Did you put that language in there, like the chair, like if you're not available and God forbid?
it said designee.
Oh, perfect.
Designate or
should that be
designate.
the committee chair?
We don't have deputy committee chair,
Designate.
that, the deputy committee chair does not have that authority at this point. Right now, the committee chair is the committee chair and it has whatever authority that goes with that, but the deputy committee chair does not have authority for
No,
it.
I don't mean deputy. The designee would be, if it's not the mayor, and the deputy mayor.
Oh, I
isn't available,
see,
the committee chair, the department, that would be the next person in line that's
Okay.
responsible. That would know that
Okay.
department, and they would know that anyway.
let me do this. In case,
If we have an emergency,
The mayor and or deputy mayor are not
mayor
available.
is unavailable.
which will never happen.
Is there a
The
way
department committee chair.
Is there a way you could just leave designee in there and in the language
Like after
portion, put designee represents deputy mayor, committee member?
Yeah, I just don't remember if we've had designee mentioned before.
Yeah, that makes it like cleaner, just.
That way you don't have to have
Yeah,
And the
10
definitions.
sentences and
Right.
parentheses.
Save a few trees.
Yeah.
how's
One
that?
less page.
How's that?
I think that's the order, that's the chain of
In
command.
case the mayor's unavailable, the deputy mayor would be next in line, followed by the department chair.
That works.
Okay. Alright, and then in review, that's it. The last stuff, this was the resolution that they had done way back when, I don't know if we would need to do this via resolution.
Well, it actually requires it by general municipal law requires it be done by resolution.
Perfect. What do you want me to call this resolution then?
Resolution, no, it could just be a resolution to adopt procurement policy for the village.
So, do we need to do this tonight, or can we do it, later? Because I'm gonna have to go through this,
It can be done,
okay. So I will adjust any changes we've made into this resolution, and we'll have that ready for the June meeting. That is fantastic. So, in line with the procurement policy discussion is this, proposed law that I discovered. Where the heck did I put it? Let me throw it up on the board. I think it's proposed local law, because C was the tax cap law, have we done, okay. So, when I was searching up procurement policies, I kept coming back to, and especially on the E-code program, a best value local law. And what I found out, and I'm just gonna read it in the language here. This law should be known as the Village of Hoosick Falls Best Law Contract Award Law, Best Value Contract Award Law. General municipal law, section 103 generally requires competitive bidding for purchase contracts and public works contracts, and has historically required that such bids be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder whose bid meets the requirements of the specifications for the project. The state legislature and governor amended general municipal law, section 103, is that comma necessary right there?
No.
On January 27th, 2012, to provide local governments greater flexibility in awarding contracts by authorizing the award of purchase contracts, including contracts for service work, on the basis of best value as defined in state finance law, section 163, which I did look up in Israel, to a responsive and responsible bidder or offerer. The village board of the Village of Hoosick Falls hereby determines that it is in the best interest of the Village of Hoosick Falls and its residents, for those Village of Hoosick Falls officials and employees making purchase decisions, hereafter referred to as purchasing agents, to have the authority to award purchase contracts on the basis of best value. Enactment of this legislation provides additional procurement options to localities in ways that, this may be just extra words and stuff that isn't necessary, that may expedite the procurement process and results in cost savings. The best value standard for selecting goods and services vendors, including janitorial and security contracts, is critical to efforts to use strategic sourcing principles to modernize the supply chain. Yes, I totally copied and pasted this. And ensure the taxpayers obtain the highest quality goods and services at the lowest potential cost, while also ensuring fairness to all competitors. Factors that may be used to enact the best value option to optimize quality, cost, and efficiency, and thereby award a contract for the procurement of goods or services to other than the lowest bidder are, and here they are, there's more than this. Lowest cost of maintenance for goods and services, which may include a future or present worth cost analysis. Durability and dependability of goods and services, higher quality of goods and services, longer product life of goods and services, the cost of delivery and or transportation of the goods to their needed location, availability of the goods or services and the length of time between the order and delivery, that was what we mentioned before, operational advantages of the goods or services that may improve effectiveness or efficiencies of the goods or services. So this is what this local allows us to do. Elena, I don't know if this section is necessary because it defines best value and purchasing agent, but we kind of already have done that.
We did that in a different document, though, right? Not in the local law.
Not in the local law. Above I had mentioned what purchasing agent was, I said herein, let me find that and then we'll come back to that. Right here, this is where I define purchasing agents.
I think it's good to define best value, so we all know
I
that.
think it's good to have
Just
it.
keep it, okay,
And that brings up
we'll take
a
this out.
certified minority women.
Yep, and that's,
Isn't veteran businesses now in that
It is,
category
yeah.
too, so we should add that.
Should be,
Okay.
even if it isn't.
so best value means the base forwarding contract services and the offer of that product.
So if we said minority, comma, women owned, comma,
Veterans.
and
Small businesses,
veterans, minority veterans, women.
comma, certified minority, say that again?
Veterans or women.
Certified minority, veteran,
Yes.
or women owned. Do I have to put the dash after each of those?
No.
Okay. Enterprises as divided. I don't, I didn't confirm this. 1, 7, 15, and 20 of section 310 of the executive law.
Those, look where I know 15 goes to women-owned business. Small business, I was looking up the veteran-owned business one.
Okay. I can Google that real fast. And then there's the definition for purchasing agent, which we, in light of discussions, we may want to change that.
This, where it says such bases may also identify a quantitative factor, blah, 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 maybe that's where you just stick in, or a local business. If you wanna do it, if you're deciding not
Say that one more time.
to, is that, if
We
you
do have-
wanted to
oh,
stick in
oh.
local business, that would be the
Yeah, you
place
could
to
do
do
it
it.
that are local, small.
Okay.
Small, local.
Small and or local.
Yeah, there you go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Alright. I'm gonna keep going if that's alright. Requirements. I had a couple different ones to look at, and I feel like I chose the one that kind of made the most sense without being super ridiculous. On or after the effective date of this article, the purchasing agent may award purchase contracts, including contracts for service work, but excluding any purchase contracts necessary for the completion of the public works contract pursuant to Labor Law Article 8, on the basis of best value as defined in State Finance Law, Section 163, to a responsive and responsible bidder or offerer. Where the basis for award is the best value offer, the purchasing agent shall document in the procurement record and in advance of the initial receipt of offers the determination of the evaluation criteria, which whenever possible shall be quantifiable, and the process to be used in the determination of best value and the manner in which the evaluation process and selection shall be conducted.
Sounds
It's wordy, but I think it makes sense, it's pretty simple. Where appropriate, the solicitation shall identify the relative importance and or weight of cost and the overall technical criterion to be considered by the purchasing agent in their determination of best value. I don't even know if that's necessary, but I did see that almost exact language in several of them. This one.
Chair's falling apart. So like,
You breaking stuff over there now?
yeah, the chair's falling apart.
There's extras.
Yeah, I mean, I read that to be that there's some type of documentation as to how best value was assessed.
Okay. And then the election to award any such contract on the basis of best value shall be made by the purchasing agent in consultation with the relevant department head, agents, or consultants to the village, and also the village board in such instances where village board approval of the purchase contract is otherwise required. In the event that no such election is made, purchase contracts will continue to be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder furnishing any required security in accordance with otherwise applicable law and policy.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Elena, a question. What's the, when bypassing the lowest bidder due to lack of responsibility or any of those things, what's our burden there? Is it high? I mean, do we need to have some kind of real evidence to show that this person is?
Well, there's gotta be something, it can't, that's why I say, like, that's why I suggested keeping that in there, is it should be documented what the basis was, if you're gonna go with best value versus, that's how I always say, if you're not gonna go with lowest, then you need to
It just
document.
can't be like arbitrary capricious, there
Right.
needs to be some, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I would assume if there was a big monetary difference, you probably have a higher burden.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Right.
If you're going with somebody double the other price.
Right.
You
Right.
better
Good
be
reason,
really
yeah.
show it, yeah.
Yep.
like the lack of insurance for the guy.
Or bad references, you know.
Yep. These procedures shall be included in the Village of Hoosick Falls procurement policy and reviewed annually by the Village of Hoosick Falls Board of Trustees in conjunction with its annual review and approval of the Village of Hoosick Falls procurement policy. Which we're doing. This severability language is an effective date are verbatim copy and pasted from your previous ones,
Yes.
so that's fine.
Yep.
So,
So there's only one thing when you go back with the list of the, the executive law sections,
yes.
the veterans one is not an executive law, so I don't know if you wanna add
Where the
something
heck was
separate for that.
I gotta find it.
It is.
Got it. can add it right here.
Yeah, as well, it's Article 3 of New York State Veteran Services Law,
Article 3, say it again?
of the New York State Veterans Services Law,
Veterans Services. Is there an apostrophe for veterans?
after veterans, yep, right there.
The article should be capitalized, right?
Yep, okay. Do I need to do any capitalization on the previous stuff? Executive law?
You had the word
Usually-
section somewhere, section should be
It
capitalized.
has the subdivisions, is defined as subdivisions one, I don't think it's really subdivisions, it's articles.
Just take that out.
Yeah.
Replace subdivisions with articles.
Do we change these to actual numbers or just leave them?
Yeah, it's easier.
If you've got,
Oh no, those are subdivisions of section 310.
Oh, cause they're only going based off of the definitions and not, okay. Cause there's Article 15 pertains to all of the women
One
owned
is-
business enterprises, but it's, if you're just going to the definition section, then it probably is subdivisions of those, of sections.
Okay, yes, so this needs to be section 310. And I found it online so I can tell you what they are. 1 is certified business, what were they? 7 is minority owned business enterprise. 15, holy crap. Oh, they have to list all the state agencies. 15 is women owned business enterprises, and 20 is small businesses.
Should we use veterans in the definitions, so they amend it for that? or-
What's that?
Probably not, cause it's a separate.
she asked if they had veterans in the definition.
Let me find out. No. The word veteran does not show up. Probably
Well,
happen later.
it's a separate, it's not in the executive law, so that might not,
Right.
that's why.
Alright, so we have a local law we can introduce tonight.
Let's do it.
Yes? Alright, so we need someone to, formally introduce it?
Yep.
And someone to second it?
Yes.
I'll move.
Thank you,
Second,
thank you. So we've officially introduced this. I'm looking to set a motion for a public hearing. My preference would be in 2 weeks at the June 12th regular meeting at 6 p.m. Does that work for you guys?
Yep.
So all in favor of that, oh no, I need someone to make that motion, seconded, Dan,
I can say.
thank you Megan. To set the public hearing for 6 p.m. on June 12th, 2024, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Alright, carries. Great, thank you. I will send this to you, Olivia, at the end of this, but I have saved it and it's all good. And I don't know if you guys wanna dive into the ethics one now, or just kind of do it over email, because it is 9 pages of excruciating stuff. I feel like that's probably a good email thing.
Make a motion for email.
I'll second that.
Alright.
Third, fourth,
Do we
Do
don't
I hear
need
a
to,
10th?
do we need to formally vote on it? Okay. I did get your comments, so I will send those out this evening so that people can see what your comments were. And we can continue to edit and adjust as we go through it.
It really is just a conflict of interest, it's not ethics.
The comments you had, you mean?
You know, the document is really just conflict of interest, it doesn't get into confidentiality behavior, it doesn't get into a lot of ethical behavior. It's all conflict of interest.
It kind of states that if you violate things that are, there was a little bit of conflict of interest, but it's not much. No, that's the previous one, let me find this. We'll just,
I guess it's
previous proposed, where are you?
we don't need to do this then, we
Okay,
move in.
but no, what we can, we'll certainly discuss that. Alright, so,
We go spend money.
the last thing we wanted to do, I spoke with Elena. I was concerned that we had to wait to the organizational meeting to appoint all of the appointments. We're not ready to do that, so we can appoint a chair of a board if that's something we wanted to do tonight.
Yeah, Aaron Krasinski is going to be chair of planning.
Deb, is that
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, and I know, Kevin Gorman zoning, although I know Jason has said if nobody else wants to do it, he'll do it.
But-
I think
but
that
Kevin
would be
wants
just
to
a
do it.
Too
big
much
problem.
stuff going with
Yeah.
Jason, you can't have, I don't think
He's
that.
gonna have to
That's the
refuse
old
too
one.
often, I think.
Right, I agree, that wouldn't be a good choice, based on, just
So,
based on that.
the-
Aaron and Kevin have both been doing it
Doing
over
it,
the
yeah.
last couple meetings.
Okay.
So the procedure, when there isn't an appointment, is that the boards themselves make a motion as to
Who's
who's
the
going to
acting
serve, and
chairman?
that's who they've had for the last two meetings, is each
And then
of
we
those
have to
two.
act afterwards?
What was that?
We have to act after they do that?
It's only for that particular meeting.
so every meeting they have to appoint.
Yeah, every meeting they have
That's
to do
what
it
they've
for
been
this
doing.
board, yeah.
Okay.
Do we
All
get
right.
any alternates?
I think let's get it done.
We don't have any alternates yet, but I do know of one person or two people, a married couple, who are interested in being alternates on boards.
There's a problem with the alternates, the whole system is that because things go out so late often, that, and because we don't have a system for RSVPing, like if you're on the, you're one of the main guys on zoning, say, and you can't make it,
It's haphazard.
yeah, there's no, we don't have, there's no, like you don't, people don't call.
There's no acknowledgement
No
as to who's
acknowledgement
coming,
that it's
who's
coming or
coming or
not.
not.
That's,
So-
okay, so
So
that's
nobody knows
something,
if somebody's absent, like they didn't do Jason's house last time, because there were three of them there, which is enough for a quorum, but Jason had to
but had to, yeah.
recuse,
Recuse.
so there were only two, so they couldn't do it.
We thought there was somebody who was
Yeah.
gonna be there and
I
Olivia had to
called
call
again,
and
and he
then
said he
that-
wasn't making it.
So that more seems like we just have to build up the regular management procedure of including emails and getting responses and following up if they
Yeah,
have
Somebody
one
them.
system
person and one
at
board
times.
who doesn't
Yeah.
have either.
And when we have alternates, including them in all the conversations as well.
So
All
you're
the
saying you
emails.
have possible two alternates that are,
I have a married couple who is interested in getting involved, and they have not done boards before, but I think they would be very happy to do different boards for each of them.
Have to do different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we also
So-
need to get more training, I mean, a lot of people
Yep.
went to the first, now we gotta build on that.
Yep.
A lot of people went to the first, but then there was comments based on that training at the last meeting that were incorrect information.
Oh, yeah?
training?
I don't know what, if there was some confusion or what happened since I didn't go, but
Like,
what requires a use variance versus an area variance.
they were going kinda fast, they were getting way behind, so they were like, remember?
so are we
Yeah,
gonna
they're like-
appoint the chairmans
That's, yeah,
tonight?
procedurally, how do we appoint
Sure,
them?
yeah,
By
that-
motion? I'm looking for a motion to appoint Aaron Bazinski to chair the planning
I'll
board.
make that move.
Second,
Second, you got that, Olivia?
How do you spell his last name?
Buzzinski.
jeez.
I had to do drama
never got
programs,
that.
that one I typed in a bunch, yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
He's so pretty.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries, great. Looking for motion to appoint Kevin Gorman as the
Planning of a zoning board.
zoning board chairperson.
I'll move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brett. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? Carries. That will apply for the, this year until the next organizational meeting, which ideally will be April 1 of 2025, because that's when new terms start, and that's kind of the general approach that most municipalities, most villages take.
Do you wanna send out an email to them, or do you want me to do it, or
I
you
can-
can do it,
I
just
can
say, hey, congratulations,
Yeah.
you're in.
Yeah.
You should send it to the full
Yes.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Great.
Aaron?
Oh no, Bobby, okay.
So that is all I have for regular session. We will have the full organizational everything ready next time, and we'll in that include people that are already appointed. One other change we're doing, which I'm gonna review with Dan and Elena before I send to everybody, is the village has habitually been appointing everyone, but about half of the people don't actually need to get appointed. So I'm gonna try to build in a section in this one that states these are the people who are permanent and don't need to be appointed every year. Just to kind of clarify that and kind of set things straight going forward.
And you're including audit and finance, right?
What's that?
You're gonna include an audit committee or audit and finance committee?
Yes, but I will probably forget, so when I send it out ahead of time, you should remind.
We should also
Thank you.
start doing our comprehensive
And Brett, you're
plan.
interested
I know
in
it's
serving
another
on
thing
that,
that's
right?
big, but we can hand it off to the planning board, that's one of the things they told us at the training, so that's often who does or at least starts the comprehensive plan
Really?
process, and
Okay.
Planning board.
I just recently saw a grant opportunity for comprehensive plans. Remind me and I'll bring that up.
Hey Rob, I just had the one thing I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
I had called you, and you guys be interested in this, that Bev White, I don't know if any of you guys know her.
Yes.
She owns the parcel of land on Lower John Street where, between Cumberland Farms and the John Street building, where
I got it.
it's around the fence.
I got it.
Yeah, actually, Rob, I have her property is 120 by 170, and there's a 16 by 28 metal building on a cement slab there.
yeah.
That's what she owns, that building?
Yes, and she is interested in selling it.
How much you buy that for?
No, she's owned it for, she bought it
So,
for probably.
this is
It was
Cumbies.
had for sale
Yeah.
somewhere, I don't know.
This is Lower John. This is the artist formerly known as the building behind Provisions. This is the John Street site, and this is the Woodsbrook culvert. So when you come down the hill, and 22 would be
Yep.
right here.
Okay.
When you come down the hill, it's this spot right here.
Huh.
Which in my mind, this spot and these
We want it.
spots over here, I would,
Parking.
Parking.
I would
Parking.
love
Oh,
to
yeah,
make
yeah.
those municipal parking.
Parking.
I thought for, it would,
She could buy it for parking, you mean, we don't.
oh, I know, that's
We
true,
could pay
but,
it.
I mean,
So we're gonna have to, we'll bring this up at the New York
it's
Solar
assessed,
meeting.
she told me, it's assessed for 50,000, 500 is what it's
Okay.
assessed for.
I can't
But,
remember off. I'm
Just so
sorry.
you know, though, an asterisk, the land is part of the Honeywell Superfund site.
That's okay, you paid it.
Yeah.
Right, that's right, that's all we're looking to do is pave it, right.
Oh,
right.
that's interesting.
But it is part of the Superfund site, she made sure I knew that.
Who owns the site next door now, the one where it was torn down?
This one right here.
That's the Honeywell,
But
right?
Honeywell still owns it?
Yes. Yes.
It's their
And
brownfield?
they have expressed. They basically asked, would we be interested when all of their stuff is done, and we have said yes, we would be interested.
And they told
When
Tricia-
all of your stuff
they
is done.
told Tricia it'd be like 2 years before they
Yeah.
could do something.
And that's simply based on what DEC is requiring them to do, making sure it's done, making sure it's done properly, all the reports. I mean, we saw how long the first street site stuff took.
But that's,
Is she saying she wants to sell it to the village, or?
she
You
approached
donate.
me about selling it to the village, yes.
What's her name?
Bev White, she lives on, Willow Street.
Okay. Good.
Very sweet lady. I mean,
So
her husband
that's-
passed away, she just wants to get her, just wants to get her the property.
Thank you for bringing that
What
up.
do you
What
wanna
do you
do
do
with
with
that? How do we wanna respond, or do we wanna see?
Well, I told her I would bring it up tonight, cause she reached out to me on the 19th.
I think the big question is, what does New York Forward allow for that? Because if we can acquire it, we would have to be owning it, but we also have to follow up with Honeywell to see when we're gonna be able to do things
We'll allow
there.
parking if it's tied into development, which, that's a parking area probably right there.
It does allow for parking?
They did initially, but this last time they did.
Oh, that's awesome.
If it ties into your development needs.
We'll need to ask that on Monday, cause
And
that's,
couldn't that go along with the redoing the John Street buildings, cause if you're gonna put more apartments up there, you're
Yeah,
gonna
we have to
need-
have parking that whole area. right?
yeah, nobody can live there without a place to park their car, right? So,
yeah. I mean, that's like the most congested spot.
Where are
in
you
the village,
talking
so.
about?
that parking lot, I was saying if those John Street, all those Main Street buildings can be rehabbed and have apartments put upstairs, you then, you
You'll
need a
need
place.
parking.
Oh,
Yeah, you
absolutely.
need a place to park them, so.
Yeah, so that would be a huge,
Giant
huge,
together.
huge asset to the village, so. Alright, unless you guys have other business to come up,
I have one quick question, I just, get
unacceptable.
everybody.
Just kidding, I'm kidding.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
So we were talking about this in the beginning of the meeting, just really quick, Paul Tonko presumably will be our congressman.
Not presumably, it is official, the new calendar year, that's
Well,
what.
so if he gets elected, there's some,
Oh,
I know you were saying, Bobby, he said he was behind by 20 points, but.
That's what he told me.
I
The
still-
district includes all of Albany.
I still think his term has more, but anyway, I'll look. keep
So
going.
my question would be, he's not even our congressman right now. Do we, to start off the right way and get in good graces and just knowing how these guys work, do we send a letter to him basically saying, look, we know there's a lot of Memorial Day parades in your district or your putative district or whatever, and we appreciate you choosing to come up here
I
and
think that's great.
meet and greet. I don't even mind typing up the letter if you guys want, you can just add,
Please,
we just
please
add
do
all
it.
the signature, but I just think it's good.
Are we allowed to ask just a Democrat, not a?
Have him right at it. That's perfect.
Can we invite just a Democrat, not a Republican?
Sure.
he was,
He's our congressman.
I mean, yeah,
That's right, you will be
it's, yeah, it's no
Yeah,
issue.
you know, because the new district has like this weird arm
Yeah.
that's, goes across the top right side.
It's
It's
like
quite
Jim
strange.
Jordan, looks like Jim, an octopus, like Jim Jordan.
It looks like a snuffleupagus sticking to the top there or something like that, but I was surprised when he was in, I'm like,
So he's on, will he be on the ballot for 2024?
yes.
yes, he definitely is.
He's on the ballot for 2024 as per the new districts, and that's why
Correct.
whoever wins it will start at the new year. Okay, I
The
got
new
it.
district will be basically the district he had before, which is Albany, Schenectady, with that whole blob,
Yeah.
and then this weird like snuffleupagus
Yeah.
thing that comes out on the top.
What's in the, because for, Stefanik's district, they cut out all the cities down here. They only went as far as Troy, I mean, when they put us in her district,
Yeah.
they only went as far as
I
Troy, they
think
went
it's
around
similar
Saratoga.
because he said, I got Pittstown, Hoosick, and part of Brunswick, which,
Well, that's crazy, I mean,
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yes.
so, yeah, I mean, I just for giggles, I looked on like a couple of the Cook political report today, it has his district in dark blue. So, I don't know, that is a little worrisome, Bobby, if he thinks he's behind,
Well,
like,
that's what he told me, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it could,
hopefully not.
cause we talked, because, you know, I told him.
Yeah, there you go, there's the snuffleupagus.
that's the new one?
This is
That's the new
this is what the new one will become. So this new district, let me zoom in here. We
So
Upper Rensselaer County,
Yeah.
which is so weird,
Right.
which will not include
It's
Troy,
Pinocchio.
correct?
It's
That's
a
not Troy.
snuffleupagus nose.
They don't wanna include Troy because then they'll get more liberal votes in the
That
district.
doesn't
Well-
include Lansingburg, the way I'm looking at it?
I don't think so. But it will include Albany and Schenectady
He said part
and
of
part of
Brunswick.
Saratoga. It's really weird. It's very weird.
And a little bit of Rensselaer County?
Why, yeah,
Washington?
why did they take
Blurb.
This is
Town
what
of
this
Rensselaer
is.
County?
They went back and forth. There were court cases. They fought it.
They look-
there
and
certain
they
ones
used the
got ruled
census.
unconstitutional.
It
Both
looks
sides
very
got it. It's just
Right,
a hot mess.
Really strange.
We're the
I'm just glad
peons
it's not
watching it
her.
all play
So
out.
it looks like it's
Yeah, hey, man.
maybe Schuylerville and
Yeah,
Valley Falls, Buskirk, up that corridor, right?
he has,
Cambridge is in there. I
he has all of, no,
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 Cambridge is
Cambridge
above the
Washington
border.
yeah,
Cambridge
he
is
has,
right
I know he
here.
has all of Pittstown, which would include Valley Falls and all that. He has, I think he has Scanticoke and,
Yeah, that would.
and
Doesn't
parts
make
of
sense.
Pittstown.
He'll get parts
Or
of
parts of Brunswick.
he'll get parts of Brunswick, but he won't get Poston, Killer, Wine, and Skill.
Correct. Or Berlin.
But no,
Or
he does get
Petersburg.
Troy. That's I think no.
No, Troy's at the bottom, isn't it?
Isn't that this cutout right here?
I think it
I
is.
think, yeah.
I think he'll get part of Troy too,
Looks like
Or-
South.
Yes.
which will make it a very
Yes,
very
I
blue
think-
district. But anyway, we're totally off
You
topic.
got the Irish.
Well, anyway, that was just kind of my thought pattern.
Please put
why don't you do it,
please
Dan?
put a letter together out.
Yeah,
We're happy
I'll
to
throw
sign.
something together and Olivia, if I can send it to you,
When
throw a letterhead.
when these new lines got
He
announced,
doesn't have nothing.
one of the local news agencies reached out to me for comments. I didn't say anything particularly negative about Stefanik, but I was very happy to hear that Tonka, who has been hugely involved in environmental and
Yeah.
water related things, was going to become ours. That was a huge plus for me, and I noted that.
So,
in
the other
paper.
reason,
Two ends and one
and,
S.
and maybe I should talk to Mark about this, I think it's good, is if, I don't know if I discussed this with you guys, but there's a guy in Amsterdam who's a recreation director, who, his son is the one that runs the baseball team at whatever that, one of our Hoosick Falls guys was going to in West Virginia. Remember the guy had, Bobby Decker was chairing, the guy had like 100 home runs or something, he's going to some college in West Virginia.
Oh, it's Eric Sprague,
Yeah.
not Sprague, Eric Sparks.
Yeah,
Not
so
Eric, but.
this guy's son runs the baseball program, but he gets money, like, I don't know how he does it out in Amsterdam for everything. Well, he said if I connected Samantha with him, he said he would help, he would just come out, he would come out and help to get grants for the ice rink. He's Paul Tonko's neighbor,
Oh wow.
they're neighbors. He's like, yeah, you know, whatever, Paul's not in your district or whatever, but you know, whatever. And
It will be.
they're neighbors, they live
That's
right
cool.
next to each- So it's a good connection, maybe if we can get some money for the ice rink and, not a
Alright.
village thing, but, 20th, there you go.
20?
Right, it's the 20th, yeah.
I thought it was 23 for some reason.
We went from 19 to 21.
I would love to entertain a motion to enter executive session to discuss personal matters and receive advice from counsel with no business to be conducted afterwards.
Second.
Thank you, and thank you for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Carries. We are ending this meeting at 7:51 and moving into executive session. Thank you.